Well, welcome everyone. We're a couple of minutes after the top of the hour, so we're going to get started. Welcome. My name is Frederick Winsness, and I am with the NetHope Solutions Center. And I want to welcome everyone to yet another webinar in our series. Today we're going to be hearing from Gilat Telecom about using fiber connectivity to enhance your mission. And some of you may have been curious as to why we used the graphic we did in the invitation. I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding, and we ended up posting the graphic of the real London tube map rather than the internet tube map, which is famously depicting the internet fiber network as we know it today. We discovered that because we saw there was a river going through the map we sent out, so it was a little late to update that. So today you have the pleasure of seeing the real internet tube map here, and we'll make sure that that's actually will be associated with the webinar and the webinar posting going forward. So I want to welcome everyone. Before we introduce the speakers, I want to go over a little bit of housekeeping slides. We want to make this as interactive as possible, so please line up your questions in the chat window. I would suggest you open up the chat window in WebEx at this point to see the traffic going back and forth, and make your comments and line up your questions there. We are recording this session today, so the recording and the slides will be made available on the Solutions Center later today or tomorrow, and you should feel free to share that with friends and colleagues that might find the topic of interest. And at the very end today, we have a little bit of a webinar satisfaction poll, so we'd appreciate you providing feedback there and maybe some suggestions on future topics for this webinar series. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Duncan Drury. Duncan is engaged in driving the Connectivity and Infrastructure Working Group here at NetHope, and I'll turn it over to Duncan, and he can introduce us off. Duncan, over to you.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here with you today. I'm really happy to be co-presenting this webinar with Asaf from Gilat. Back at the NetHope Global Summit in Atlanta in 2016, I ran a session where I outlined the trend in and changes in the connectivity infrastructure in Africa. I put up a big map on the wall that showed the growth of fiber and showed how it was reaching further and further into the continent, and then challenged the VSAT suppliers in the room to tell us how they were going to deal with this, and how was it going to affect their business models, what sort of new services were they going to provide to the NetHope community. And I wasn't particularly popular for raising this, so I'm really happy to see that that Gilat is addressing this issue. They weren't actually at the Atlanta Summit, so I can't take any credit for their direction. But yes, I think it's a critical change to how Africa will be connected to the internet, as we see opportunities to move away from slow and high latency VSAT connections to connections that are much more normal in the developed world. So yeah, it gives me great pleasure to hand over the presentation to Asaf from Gilat.
Thank you very much, Duncan. I hope everyone can hear me. Good afternoon to all our attendees. And I would first like to start with saying some thank you words to our friends at NetHope, to Frederick, to Duncan, to Madeline for hosting me today. It's a great pleasure to be here with you. And today, basically in the next 20-25 minutes, I will try to give you some highlights of what Gilat Telecom was doing for the past few years in Africa, the change we did from satellites to fiber. And I hope you'll find this webinar interesting, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So basically, what we are doing at Gilat Telecom, we are just connecting between dots in Africa, outside of Africa, but this is the main thing that we are doing for the last more than 15 years. We are just connecting between points. How do we do it? We started doing it, and we are still doing it with satellite, but lately in the past 4 or 5 years, we moved to do it also with submarine fiber connectivity. And in between, we're also connecting with mobile satellite solutions, which there are quite a big number of them. To add to everything and to bring out the future, we are also doing some cloud activities, which I will tell you a bit later on. So just for you to have a glance at Gilat Telecom, we are active in Africa since 2000. Africa is our main playground. 90% of the revenues of our company are coming from Africa. It's true we are also operational in some other continents, but Africa is the main business for us. We are operating in more than 20 countries, and if we're talking about satellite connectivity, we have more than 1,000 VSAT spread all over Africa. A part of our activity, I didn't mention, but Gilat Telecom is a company that is based in Israel. Our HQ is there. We are part of the biggest telecom group in Israel called Eurocom. Aside of Israel, we have also subsidiaries in the DRC, Ghana, Uganda, Nigeria, Zambia. All the subsidiaries, a part of the DRC, are 100% owned and operated by Gilat Telecom. Over there in the map, you can see our POPs and our sites. So we have the subsidiaries in Nigeria, Uganda, Ghana, and Zambia and the DRC. The main difference between the subsidiaries is that Zambia and Uganda were the last to come into our portfolio. In Zambia and Uganda, we are operating, actually we have an ISP license. We are operating directly with the B2B market. And in the other countries, we are more in the wholesale part of the business, means we are selling mainly to MNOs and ISPs. All in all, we are moving around more than 20 gigabits per second from Africa to London to South Africa, where there are the main internet connectivity servers, and back to Africa. How do we do it? We are shareholders in an organization called WACS. WACS stands for West Indian Ocean Cable Consortium. This consortium was established about 5 years ago. It's established out of the main 14 MNOs, mobile network operators, and ISPs in the east part of Africa. And what WACS and Gilat is obviously part of WACS, what we did, we bought some extensive amount of shares on 2 cables. One of them is the EASSY cable connecting the east coast of Africa to London, and the second one is the WACS undersea cable connecting the west coast of Africa to the internet. Here in this map, I hope you can see and identify the dots. But what we are showing here is our assets in Africa. If we will look, we will quickly review it. You can see that we have our own organic fiber and MPLS POPs, which are the red spots, and they are inclusive of Ghana, 3 locations in Nigeria, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, and Zambia. Over there, we have our own point of presence with our own equipment, where we did in the last few years some major investments. We have also the smaller red dots marked as our joint fiber POPs. Over there, we have joint ventures with few partners in Africa. It means that it's not our organic, what we call the on-net networks, but it's joint venture. It means that we are hosting there our equipment and we are providing their services. Joint fiber doesn't mean that we are not taking the responsibility. It means that if, for example, we are providing to someone service in Senegal or in Guinea-Conakry, we are still the sole provider and we are still the focal point that are taking 100% responsibility for the network. The red line shows you on the left side, the red line, you can see the WACS submarine cable, which is our asset. The other red line represents the ACE submarine cable, which we are not shareholders, but we also bought some extensive amount of capacity over the ACE in order for us to have a redundancy in countries like Nigeria, like Ghana. Later on, I will discuss with you also about the domestic cloud services we have in 4 other locations. So we have a wide variety of international customers. Like mentioned before, the major business for Gilat is the wholesale, which is ISPs and MNOs. So it works in a way that we are providing the submarine fiber cables to the major cities where the landing stations of the cables are located. From those locations, the ISPs and the mobile network operators, they are actually taking it and all the way to their core network, to their POPs, and they are the ones who are in charge to distribute it in the countries. How do they do it? Or they are having their own infrastructure, or they are relying on other carrier-neutral networks of local loop of fiber, terrestrial fiber, or any other way like 3G, 4G, microwave network, or any other mean to take our capacity and bring it to the end users. The end users from time to time can be the business, and from time to time, if it's a 4G company, it can be the consumer market. We are also working extensively with the UN organizations. Currently, we have active contracts with the UN across Africa, I would say about 7 or about 8 countries where we are providing to the UN fiber capacity. And our subsidiaries in Zambia and Uganda are more focusing on the corporate finance sectors, and we also have some IT integrators that are working with us for the fiber and for our cloud services. Okay, so from the information that I have, from my experience with the NGOs as part of our membership at NetHope, usually when you guys are thinking about satellite connectivity, it's rather pretty simple and straightforward. You're looking for a provider that will provide you a cost-effective service. You're looking for a provider that will provide you a good uptime, but it's not a very difficult mission or not a very complicated one, because usually the satellite provider you'll choose to work with, they will have 1 or 2 satellites that covering Africa in a very good way, and you can have with them like a contract or an agreement for more than 1, 2, or 3 locations, but actually one provider can cover all of your needs in Africa. So you have one provider, one invoice, one network operations center that is providing you all your needs. When it comes to fiber connectivity, it's a bit more difficult because there are not too many companies, if at all, that have the access to provide the fiber capacity internationally or in multiple countries in Africa. Usually the MNOs and the ISPs are working or are operating in 1, 2, or 3 countries, but not more than that. And once you want to cut on your cost and move from satellite to fiber, it's a much more challenging operation. You need to go, the IT manager in the country need to go and look up who are the local ISPs who can provide the service. Then you need to start working with them and to see if they're reliable, if their service is good enough for your mission. And then you need to do it over and over in each country. And it means that the work of the IT manager, the work of the CTO, the work of the purchase department for the NGOs need to work much harder in order to start with dealing with each and every provider in different countries. What we want to highlight here and what we want to bring to the table is to let you know that there is another type of provider which is called Gilat Telecom, and what we do is, like in the satellite industry, like you are familiar, we can give you a solution that will be across most of the countries in Africa, okay, via our organic on-net network and via our partners network. We can actually save you some money because we have plans for NGOs and plans for companies that are taking from us services in more than one locations. We can improve for you the quality of service. And the best thing, to my opinion, if I'm a network manager, is that I have one provider that is taking care of all my networks, whether it's satellite, whether it's fiber in 1 country, 5 or 10 countries. You're getting everything from one provider. Another important thing I would like to emphasize is that maybe part of you or part of the NetHope members are already getting our services these days from one of the ISPs or one of the MNOs that we are providing them the service. So in a different way, we are offering here to cut costs by going to the provider one step forward and not going in the food chain and buying from the second hand or the third hand. We have some, back in 2016, we won the Best African Satellite Service. I'm not sure if you're aware. 2017, in the Capacity Africa Carrier Awards, we won the new market penetration for the work that we did in Uganda. Let's talk a bit about our portfolio of services. So when it comes to fiber infrastructure, we are providing dedicated internet access. We are providing IPLC, MPLS, and IP connectivity. We'll get later on back to the map, and I will show you where you can get those services from us. Smart Office. The topic of the webinar today is not in particular our Smart Office offering, but I do want to spend like 4 minutes tell you more about our Smart Office. Back at the end of 2017, we did some quite big investment in getting into Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, DRC, and Zambia domestic cloud services. Over there in those countries, up to now, there was no provider that was providing domestic cloud services. The only providers were like providing it outside of Africa, which of course has many disadvantages compared to domestic cloud services. These days, Gilat, in the countries that I just mentioned, were providing a part of satellite, a part of fiber. We are providing cloud services and some value-added services. We can split the services into two families. One of them is infrastructure as a service. In this family of solutions, we are providing VPS, which stands for Virtual Private Servers. It means that companies do not need to invest in hardware, in physical servers. They can come up to the data centers where we are hosting our equipment, and they can purchase from us virtual servers, move from a CapEx model to an OpEx model. Also part of the infrastructure as a service is storage and backup services. After the infrastructure as a service, we also have the software as a service, which you can see right now, where we are providing firewall and bandwidth management solutions, Wi-Fi controlled access points that controlled over our cloud controller, and unified communication stands for what is more usually referred to as PABX systems, but we took it one step forward, and it's not only PABX, but it's also applications that you can install on your phone, and they are working in one hand with the PABX at the office. So once again, what is special about what we did, we brought the cloud into Africa. In this sense, we are pretty unique company, because I'm not familiar with other providers who did this move and brought to more than one country domestic cloud services. We have also another division at Gilat Telecom, which is providing mobile satellite solutions. We are a gold partner and distributor for Iridium and Inmarsat. It means all the satellite phones and mobile satellite solutions like BGANs, like mobile satellite modems, etc. We have back at our HQ, our technical department. Actually, we are about 100 employees, and more than half of them are from the technical departments. So we have a big engineering department that is taking care of all the optimization when it comes to the satellite connectivity and all the design and maintenance of our teleport, whether it's the satellite or the fiber pops. We have also a 24/7 network operations center operating from Israel, providing the technical support. Once again, the advantage is that no matter if you have few VSATs, few mobile satellite solutions, and few sites where you're taking fiber, with one ID of your organization, the NOC technical managers can see all of your portfolio, and you don't need to get into too many explanation of what is your portfolio, but from one location you are getting technical support to all the operations you have in Africa. For our premium customers, and it was already concluded with the NetHope managers that any NetHope member will get from us a technical account manager. It means that a part of providing technical support, you will have a dedicated technical account manager that you can speak with him not only when you have a crisis or a malfunction, but also on a day-to-day basis whenever you want to get any kind of information. We are having from our NOC proactive link monitoring. We are not monitoring all our 1,000 and plus VSAT, but only our premium sites, and this is part of the package we are offering NetHope. Our service SLA, if we're talking about VSAT, it's 99.9. If we're talking about fiber connectivity, we are committing for at least 99.5% of uptime. Usually it's more, but our POPs and the network and the local loops are all aimed towards 99.5. Last but not least, I just want to give you the feel and to give you some examples of the fiber connectivity services we are offering. So here in this slide, you can see the dedicated internet access circuits we are offering in Nigeria, Ghana, Zambia, and Uganda. Obviously, it depends also the exact location, but just to give you the feel of what we are doing. So here you can see the prices for 2, 5, and 10 dedicated Mbps fiber all the way to the customer premises. It means that it's fiber all the way from London to the landing station of the cable, from the landing station of the cable up to our POPs, and from our POPs also a local loop of fiber connectivity. The way that we are operating in those countries, we are not the owners of the local loop of the terrestrial fiber links. The way we are operating is with partners. So I'll just give you an example. In Ghana, we are working with the Google C-Square fiber, which is a carrier neutral. In Uganda, we are operating in the same way. We are using the Google C-Square, and we are using another partner that we have in order to provide the fiber capacity up to the customer premises. In Nigeria, we are working with several providers, and in Lusaka, we are also working with several providers. All in all, I think that the main advantage or the main offering that we have is that we're talking about a reliable network. We're talking about getting everything in a kind of a one-stop shop. And basically, that's it from my side. This is Gilat Telecom in a nutshell. And thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Asaf. Very information-packed presentation there, and thanks for sharing some of those pricing details there. Just before I go to the questions that came in, the pricing that you're offering here, are these, there may be some people on the call that are nonprofit organizations and NGOs that are not NetHope members. Would you be able to offer this pricing to other nonprofits as well, or is this an exclusive NetHope deal?
Basically, this deal was built with a percentage of discount, which is exclusive to NetHope. However, what I'm encouraging all the attendees to get in touch with us later on, and to share with them, us their network topology. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's a matter of volume. And if the network topology is established out of more than 1 or 2 sites, we can definitely provide them more or less the same terms and conditions like we're providing the NetHope members.
Excellent. Well, thank you for, just wanted to make that clear and full transparency here. So
okay,
I appreciate you answering that question. There were some other questions that came in. The first question was, what physical presence do you have in Africa? Do you have your own engineers there? Can they travel to any customer site to resolve issues and oversee complicated installations?
Okay. So we have subsidiaries in the 5 locations I mentioned before, which are Uganda, Ghana, Nigeria, DRC, and Zambia. Over there, in those countries, we have our offices. Okay, Zambia in particular is we are right now at the stage of establishing the office. But rather than that, in all the other countries, we have our own office and license to operate. We have the technical teams and the sales. A part of it, our teams and the company structure is based in Israel. The sales team, which is about 10 people, are traveling very often to Africa. Each one of them is in charge for 2 or 3 countries, and this way we are covering more than 20 countries. And our engineering department is based in Israel, but they are traveling very often to meet customers, to go to our POPs, and we are also relying on subcontractors that we hire in Africa on a case-to-case basis. So if right now we have a new VSAT to install in Africa, we have a network of technical teams that we are working for the last 10 years and more in Africa, from where we are providing the support.
There was excellent, thank you. There was a follow-up question to the earlier question that just came in from Roberto. He said, "What about the VSAT rates? Could they be, also discounted for other non-NetHope members?" I'm assuming that the question is more, the answer is more or less the same.
So yes, NetHope actually this webinar for the NetHope members was in particular for fiber, because we didn't want to get you too much boring with another webinar for satellite. But we do have teleports in Israel, in Germany, in the States, in the DRC, from where we are providing dedicated internet connectivity shared, and also domestic connectivity in Africa. I do, from the information that I have, and I have some information about our competitors, we can be very attractive in our VSAT portfolio and VSAT prices, and I'll be more than happy to share some proposal with the NetHope members and with the other attendees. I can send you later on some figures.
Excellent. Another follow-up question to your your footprint in Africa. You mentioned that you have partners and local partners there, and I do realize that you're in the process of updating Gilat Telecom's web presence. But is there a way to go find what your partner infrastructure looks like in Africa, or will that be on that site?
Yes, and I can also share with you our brochure, and over there you can find some more information about our point of presence and the map that was in one of the slides.
Excellent.
I have a follow-up question to that. Really was so noting the prices. I know that this is just a representative example. That they're all large or capital cities. How do we best figure out whether you can supply more remote locations, and what opportunities are there? And also within the cities, sometimes when I've been working with fiber suppliers in the past, the location within the city is actually quite can be a challenge.
Okay, Duncan, thank you for that. It's a good question. So the answer is pretty much simple. There is fiber where there is fiber, and usually the local loop providers we are working with can extend this fiber to a particular extent. But right now they are not going to put another 5 or 10 kilometers for a single site. So in all the major cities, in all the major industrial locations, the fiber is already there. If we're talking about capital cities and the density of the industry, the fiber is already there. If there is a need to extend it, usually up to 500 meters to a new building, it's part of the work that the local loop providers are doing. In order, I mean, there are countries like Zambia, like Ghana, that there is already established additional fiber, terrestrial fiber out of the capital cities. And once we know the exact locations, we find out with our partners if they have a presence. We are not limiting us to a particular provider. This is also an advantage. So in Zambia, we're working with 2 providers. In Nigeria, we're working with 4 providers. In Ghana, we're working with 3 providers. And we already have the experience to know which provider likely to have the infrastructure. And if the infrastructure is there, you're getting fiber all the way. If the infrastructure is not there, you get fiber up to our POP, and from our POP, you'll get a microwave link or any other kind of radio link.
And so there is the option to use alternative last mile solutions.
Correct. It's important for me to emphasize what Gilat is doing good. Okay, what is our asset? Our asset is to get the internet connectivity all the way from London up to the main capital cities, but our asset is also the long-time relationship that we have with our partners in Africa, and the fact that we already switched for more than one time between partners that their uptime and their service was not good enough. So actually we have already the experience of who we can trust and who we can work with and who is not going to let us down. And this experience where we can take over to end customers like NGOs. And of course, it's also a matter of Gilat working in big volumes with the local loop providers, and as such, we are exposed to a different kind of price structure we can also take forward to the NGOs.
Okay, thank you, Asaf. That's really helpful.
There were a couple questions around your I'm sorry, the services, your cloud services. Is this something that's available everywhere where you have service today, or is something that you're phasing in various locations? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, we have few families of services. We have the security value-added service. The security value-added service we are having is based on 3 pillars. One of them is FortiGate product, which is firewall and bandwidth management. The second one is antivirus endpoint security, which we are doing with a vendor called EASSY. And the third one is office email security we are doing with another provider. For the firewall and the bandwidth control management, it's very important that it will be in Africa, domestically in Africa, in the countries. And currently we are having it in Ghana, in Uganda, Zambia, and DRC. Currently it's installed over there. For the office email security, it's installed in our POP, in our main POP in London. So if there is an NGO who is using any type of email office like Exchange, like Lotus, or any other email exchange working over SMTP port 25, we can offer it from London. The Wi-Fi value-added service that we are offering is based on WACS, which is an American company, one of the best in its class, that is doing the access points. So over there, what we are doing, we are providing two things that are pretty unique. First of all, we are providing, we are offering to manage the access points wherever you are installing them in Africa or out of Africa, to install it from our controller in London. The controller is fully multi-tenant. It means that an NGO can manage all its offices in Africa, all the Wi-Fi connectivity according to the different countries and different offices. And on the other hand, what we are offering is pretty unique. We are offering an OPEX model, unlike the usual CAPEX model. It means that basically we have offerings and we have bundles that you can get from us: internet connectivity plus Wi-Fi connectivity, and all of them you're getting for the monthly recurring charges. So basically, it's like a bundle. It's like a bundle, and you are getting from us the access points. So Gilat is investing the money in purchasing the access points, in providing the infrastructure, and the customer is paying for it on a monthly basis as part of the service. A part of it, we have the last service is the data protection. Data protection, we can provide it from London, but usually I think the main advantage is to have it locally in order not to facilitate and not to use the internet lines, which are expensive, which are not usually not dense enough, in order to facilitate the data protection, which is basically backup and restoration of the information. So we can provide it from London to any country, but it's more likely that it will be more effective to use it domestically.
Well, great. Thanks for clarifying that. There was a question relative to the firewall services and bandwidth control and so on and so forth, if that was kind of part of the bundle or it was a separate paid-for option. So thank you for clarifying that. Another follow-up to that, have you been testing your infrastructure against like services like Office 365? Many of the NetHope members, many nonprofits are using that service. Have you been testing that and benchmarking maybe against a VSAT connection?
I would be happy if you can repeat the question, because I'm not sure I understood it 100%.
Yeah, so many nonprofits and particularly NetHope members are using Office 365 from Microsoft, and that service is being provided from different data centers throughout the world. So the question is, would be assuming that a fiber connection from you would compare very favorably to a VSAT connection when people are using those types of services.
Okay, now it's clear, thank you. So I will start by saying that Gilat Telecom is using Office 365 in our HQ in Israel and in all the subsidiaries. And part of it is being run on a VSAT, and part of it and the majority is run over fiber, and it's working great without any interruptions. The reason is that the Office 365 and email services basically are not sensitive to delay that we have for the satellite, and it's working without any problem.
That's great. That's great to know. You mentioned some of your we talked a little bit about your joint venture partners and resellers on the continent, and we asked for how we'd find out who those are. But in many cases, maybe NetHope members or people would be existing customers of those partners. Is there an opportunity to consolidate those relationships into a single relationship or a service level agreement or pricing with Gilat?
Yes, like I mentioned before, I assume that part of the members are already using services from Gilat, either the satellite services or either the fiber via one of our resellers. Usually we don't know about it because we are not exposed who are the end customers when it comes to satellite resellers or ISPs or MNOs that are using our fiber connectivity. The only way that we can help to consolidate those services is only if the NGO or the NetHope members will go and communicate with us directly. In some cases, if the NetHope members will tell us who are the providers that are working in country related to fiber, we can see how we can, on one hand, help the NetHope members, and on the other hand, not to hurt, I would say it like this, our existing resellers. But we do have the flexibility in order to make sure that even if a NetHope member right now is taking away the business from one of our resellers, we do have a way to compensate the reseller and to make sure that he's not upset with the NGO or with Gilat, because we see it more in the strategically thinking of Gilat, that we want to work with international NGOs like we are already working directly with the UN organizations. So from my side, I don't see any issue with that. The only thing is that, once again, we are not exposed, we don't have the information, and it should be the initiatives of the NGOs to come and front us directly.
Do you have a list of your partners?
Of course.
I mean, another scenario that I see is that a member might be unsatisfied with a solution they're getting and want to change, and you know, they don't necessarily want to switch from the partner they're not very happy with to Gilat, only to find that actually they're still with the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scenario that can occur. It's not. I'm also taking this scenario into account. Obviously, if this kind of scenario, I mean, if someone is taking services from one of our providers, okay, we need to find out why he's not happy from the service. I mean, there are two scenarios. Either he's not happy with the price, and we have a way to improve it, or either he's not happy with the customer, with the aftermarket after-sale customer service, or with the actual service. Now, we need to take into account, okay, that I will just give you an example, okay. I'm not saying that it's mandatory that this is a real event scenario, but I'll just give an example, okay. Just let's assume that we have a partner in Ghana that is buying from us capacity, and he has a great infrastructure, but he is oversubscribing his network in order to make some more money, or because he cannot afford right now to buy some more capacity. And right now there is the customer, the NGO is not getting all the bandwidth he paid for, or maybe some other technical or commercial issue. So it might be that in that scenario, Gilat will use the local provider only for providing us the local loop, okay, and Gilat will use its own international bandwidth to provide to the NGO. So it might, in certain cases, that we are going to work with the same last mile provider, and the service will be great. But I guess we need to check it on a specific case-to-case basis.
I think there's also a value proposition in consolidation. So, you know, having a single company, a single bill to pay, or you know, a single network operation center to communicate with when there's problems across a large number of sites. To make it a bit easier.
What we can also do, Duncan, and I can also add it to our offering. It's easy for us to share with you the list of providers, of local providers we are going to work in each country. So, for example, we can share with you that in Ghana, the service providers will be Gilat, and for the local loop, it will be Google. In Zambia, it will be Gilat and SmartNet. So we can expose for you who are going to be our local loops providers for the sake of the transparency.
Yeah, if you provide that list, we'd be more than happy to post that information on the website for this webinar as well. So, or we can point to whatever you may be maintaining and publishing yourself. There, early on, there was a question around redundancy. The question was, fiber can be disrupted. Can you tell us about redundancy, and can you help with using VSAT as a local redundancy solution?
Yes, we have a few sites that we are providing them fiber, and there is also a backup of satellite. What we are doing in those cases, it's like an insurance policy. So the customer is bringing the VSAT, or we are bringing the VSAT, and there is a one-time fee for the VSAT installation and equipment. Of course, that if the customer has already the VSAT, there is no one-time fees. And then we're just adding small fees for as a backup insurance, and we bundle it with X amount of usage free of charge. So I'll give just an example. We can have a mission critical site that was working only with VSAT, and we came up to the guys and told them, look, fiber is much more cheaper, much more affordable, and they told us, yes, but this is mission critical, and satellites tend to be more reliable. So what we did, we charged them for the fiber connectivity, and we charged them an additional $200 per month only for providing, only for giving them an insurance for the satellites. So in that example, the customer was taking from us 5 megs over VSAT, and we gave them 5 megs for $200 as a backup on demand. So if our fiber service was cut and the service was done, the service was switched to satellite, and the only added cost was $200 per month.
And is that suitable for automatic failover?
It depends if the customer has a router, or if he wishes to invest in a router that costs around 1,000 USD in order to do the auto failover.
It's becoming quite common for members to have that. So
yes,
from your perspective,
we are supporting from our side. Okay, I mean we're using in all our networks BGP protocols, and we are using a secondary option. And I'm not that technical, but I know that we have a few sites with the auto failover.
That's fantastic.
So there was another question relative to location early on. Are there plans to establish presence in French-speaking Africa?
We have, and we are working pretty much extensively in the French-speaking Africa for the satellite operations. We don't have our own subsidiaries in the French-speaking countries in the West Africa, but we do have our joint fiber POPs in most of the French-speaking countries. We have a partnership with a provider that has a point of presence in the countries where the ACE submarine cable is reaching. We're talking about Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea-Conakry, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Togo, and over there we can provide fiber services in the capital cities.
That's great, Asaf. And one final question from me. So you guys are totally hooked into what's going on, and how do you see the trend? I mean, how quickly are we going to see fiber moving into further into the continent and into locations where it's not currently available? What do you see as the trend?
The major entities that are pushing for this transition are actually the mobile network operators in the countries. They have the interest to get the fiber as much as they can to the second tier and to the third tier cities in each of the countries. And this trend is already pretty much common. We are already seeing it happening, especially in the countries which are not that big like the DRC and in other countries. But the main drivers are the mobile network operators. What they are doing, they are actually building their own microwave infrastructures, not necessarily fiber. And from time to time, for the more closer cities, they are building a fiber corridors, and for the more remote cities, they are building a backhaul of a microwave. So this initiative being moved by the MNOs actually is reducing the amount of VSATs, because once you have fiber with the extension of the microwave to the second and to the third tier locations, the prices dramatically drops, and no one wants any longer to use the expensive VSAT connectivity.
Absolutely.
But Duncan, there was just a question that came in to me, and we'll close with that. The question is more for you, Duncan. What kind of support can we expect from NetHope?
Oh goodness! In terms of what? In terms of.
I'm happy to help answer that question also. And I think that NetHope, our business is in connecting the NGOs and the international development sector with companies like Gilat and other providers. And we do have some limited engagements in certain countries in sub-Saharan Africa, but mainly and particularly in Uganda at this point, but that's focused more or less on the refugee situation in northern Uganda. But I think that what you'll find from NetHope is to try to make these connections between the private sector and the NGOs, and then also learning from members best practices. How are they able to take advantage of these relationships, and then share that with the rest of the membership.
I'd also like to say there's the Connectivity and Infrastructure Working Group is a great forum for sharing intelligence about what's available in different locations. So, and from that, you know, we can provide a certain amount of support, but a lot of it's also peer-to-peer. Just, you know, where are you having challenges, and other members may be able to come to your assistance with the information that you require.
Right. Yeah. There's unfortunately we're out of time at this point, but happy to continue this discussion either via email or other means. I'll pass on the following questions to Duncan. I want to thank Asaf for a very information-packed session here. I'm glad we got this this recorded so we can share it with other members, others that weren't able to join us today. And thank you, Duncan, for organizing and spearheading all of this. And thank you to the audience for a bunch of super insightful and challenging questions. So I wish everybody a great rest of your day, wherever you might be, and we'll be in touch again real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.